I've been thinking a lot while playing Battlefield 6 lately about how there seems to just be so much they've done in recent games in general to add randomness and lack of readability for the sake of mass appeal. This sounds like coke to some, but it'll make a lot of sense to others. This is something I see in many modern games, but wanted to talk about how I see it in Battlefield 6 specifically today, for all the glory and all its warts. Things like a shorter time to kill result in easier kills around the board, but more so for lesser skilled players who are not as good at tracking. This makes the game more of a focus on positioning as well as simply who sees who first. Keep in mind the majority of people on any given video game are going to be average to lesser skilled players, and you would be naive to think the companies don't want their money. Shorter time to kill along with map design that has crazy sightlines from the safety of spawn, or just map design like some of the zones on Breakthrough, are clearly done in a way as to feed effectively free kills to players. There's a reason why on defense on Breakthrough, some zones just feel like you're meant to get shot down on while you just have to wait for the enemy to push. It's because you're supposed to just sit there and wait for them to push. Other zones feel like they're meant to be steamrolled by any competent team who knows where the objective is. The audio in this game is clearly focused on immersion above all else. The explosions across the map seemingly take precedence over the player sprinting behind or beside you. Many times the player will be on the same floor as you and sound below you, or be in a totally different place than where they sound. I think that this is a result of intentional audio design where immersion is concerned, but also a result of the reality that it's not likely the servers in the game can handle all the audio for all 64 players on the map at the same time, while also giving good hit registration, smooth frame rates, and not having major input lag. I wish we could have a volume slider for vehicles and explosions, which I'm sure some people will find to be a really hot take, but it would probably make some people's game run smoother not having to receive packets for audio they don't care about. I would not be surprised if half the time I get no audio cues, it's because the game server just never sent packets for the sound effects at all, or at least not at the right timing. I think it's a matter of many times those packets just being dropped. I wonder if the server sometimes loses packets for things like footsteps in order to send a more recent or similarly timed audio effect going on in game, simply because the server can only handle so much going on at once. We do get server queues at off hours, leading me to believe that they do many different cost-cutting and load balancing methods. Don't get me wrong, using smart software solutions as a business is a good thing, as long as it's not a detriment to the end user. They always have a certain threshold. That was a little bit of a long-winded rant about the audio, but my point is the audio intentionally is not balanced around readability or competition. It's balanced around impressing the average person with the explosions, gun sounds, jet whooshing, or whatever else might add a cinematic quality to the experience. Now for some possibly even hotter takes. The changes to bullet spread or deviation, the lowering of recoil for controller 25% compared to keyboard and mouse being reversed, the fixes to the spread bug and recoil bug along with other things like the weapon aim sway reductions that were supposed to come in the Season 1 initial patch, were either not able to be implemented in time or had more negative side effects that they didn't know how to remedy yet. I honestly think they're scared to upset the player base knowing how averse majority of the players are to moving in general. Every decision really just comes back to money. It's a business at the end of the day. Sometimes I'll go online and I'll try to get an ear on what various people are thinking of the game. Whenever somebody complains about something like footsteps, you'll hear "it's fine for me" from somebody who probably sits crouched in a corner all game. Get a better headset. Little do they know some people have $1,800 Sennheiser headphones with expensive amps, and they've been complaining about the audio. I honestly think there's a correlation between how little you move in the game and how good your audio is. That said, I should probably hear footsteps in 8 out of 10 situations where I get mad about the lack of audio cues. Maybe 2 of the times they're crouch running or being intentionally strategic to hide their sound. Majority of the time it's just the game fucking up. Lag compensation on this game feels really bad sometimes. Almost any time I'm shot around a corner or have to take nearly a whole clip to take an enemy out, I can look at the scoreboard and them or at least somebody has over 120 ping in bright yellow letters on the board. This has been an issue I face on almost any FPS game living in the Southeast. Game companies are too cheap to put servers for South American players, so it's closer for a Colombian player who's like 1,700 miles away from me to play on Miami servers or Atlanta servers than it is for them to be matched on Santiago, Chile. I think they need to just possibly look into the lag compensation in general though, because some matches it just feels like I'm constantly desynced while being on 20 ping. I hate the feeling of being in a match where it just feels like I have to leave because the performance is really subpar. Some matches I will have the desync indicator the whole entire time. Others it'll be gone and show up occasionally in specific gunfights. I've even gone online and seen some people say that they just turn it off because they're tired of seeing it. I just find it a bit alarming a troubleshooting icon is coming up so frequently. I don't see it as much when I watch people streaming who have better computers than me, so perhaps when I get an upgrade soon it'll feel better. That said, I still see people with better computers talking about the desync as well as hit reg issues. I think whatever they're doing to try to keep the whole lobby synchronized is overtuned the moment that somebody with a high ping or an unstable connection is in the match. This is a problem because with lobbies with 64 players in them, there's bound to be somebody with a janky connection, and that should not compromise the feel of the game for everybody else. It seems like there's something wrong with the lag compensation to the point where it's causing frame drops, input lag, and just negative side effects beyond the scope of what it should be doing. Spread kicking in right after sprinting or sliding is said to be a bug that's going to be fixed, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was just intentional to add RNG into gunfights, at least in the initial design of the game. Those gunfights would usually be one-sided in favor of the aggressive player. This just goes back into the whole equitable game design where everybody gets a kill. That's just simply better for the bottom line as long as it's not too manipulative. From a game design perspective, they want to give dopamine to every player within X amount of time so that they don't get bored. Things have to be easy enough for everybody while still having just enough challenge where there's something to sink your teeth into as a more dedicated player looking to improve. That comes in the form of map knowledge, burst or tap firing when necessary, positioning, recoil control, game sense and mini-map awareness, team coordination, mechanical skill, flying, aiming. I think the game will just feel better as time goes on, especially with more reliable gunplay that feels less hindered by bugs. Even something like being on uneven terrain makes shooting feel awkward. The Super Mario glitch is still very much in the game, and I think there's just something weird going on with how you interact with the ground and various terrain, especially on slopes, especially with like lots of rocks and stuff. It's just weird. The game has so much potential though, and it's still really fun. I just feel like it's got unforced errors hindering how good it could be. I'm glad to have a game to feel something about and want positive change for rather than being apathetic and just lacking hope. Then again, I could just be getting set up for a Fooled Me Again award, but I guess it's better to love and lose than to have never loved. Take it easy.